I've done some research and I've found in my research that you had offered $30,000 to Guru Nanak Food Bank, but not membership. Why not the membership and why only the money? Okay, that's something as you know, food banks of BC that you might want to find out, because if you're providing funding to the members, which is one of your members, you should know kind of what their operating hours are because you're giving them funding. So if Guru Nanak Food Bank is open 7 days a week and they're fulfilling all of the membership requirements, then why aren't they a member, Dad? So according to my research, in 2023, Food Bank BC received a whopping $15 million from the Social Welfare Ministry. I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, but in a recent interview with CBC, you denied that Guru Nanak Food Bank had requested membership with Food Bank BC. Why would you say that they hadn't when you just told me that they had? And then you say, well, they haven't applied. Well, how can they apply if you don't have an application?
And I never denied that with the CBC, but they'll report whatever portion that they want to report, regardless of me telling the CBC that they had expressed interest in applying.
So you could...
No, we
don't.
We actually don't.
I agree. I haven't finished my sentence. I agree with you. You don't have the jurisdiction over bylaws or whatever you're saying, but you do have the ability to say, okay, let's take this application and put it forward. You do have that ability.
I do.
Food Bank BC is a waste of taxpayer money. This organization exists solely to distribute and donate funds. Food banks should receive funding directly so that the funds go to those in need and not to a misappropriation of funds. Would you like to offer a rebuttal? So that $700,000, I didn't really want to go on and on about it, but you're clarifying it with saying that you don't actually get that amount. You're saying it's less.
We're not getting
than that.
700.
Hello, I'm Sonia West with a special report. With the growing population and the cost of living being at an all-time high, families are struggling to make ends meet. Thank you to those organizations that support the needs of our communities. There is a non-government organization that governs food banks here in British Columbia. In this segment, we will be asking some difficult questions of Executive Director of BC Food Banks, Dan Huang-Taylor. Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Good. First of all, Dan, thank you so much for talking to us today, and thank you so much for providing to the public with the Food Bank of BC and the work that you do. So I'm very excited to talk to you. So we're going to talk about a few things that are happening in the community, a few issues that are happening as far as inclusion. So let's start with a very basic question. What is the vision of Food Bank BC?
Simply put, a hunger-free British Columbia. It's a lofty goal, we know, because the need for services for food banks has never been higher.
Yeah.
Our mission is to alleviate hunger today and prevent hunger tomorrow for all British Columbians. And
wonderful.
Across our network, we're doing what we can to achieve those goals.
Yeah, with the growing population, I mean, we need as much help as we can get. So when was the Food Bank BC established, and what was the catalyst behind establishing it?
Well, I've been with Food Banks BC since July 2020, but the organization has been around since the late 90s.
Okay.
We have seen a growing need for support for food banks ever since they started out in the early 80s.
Okay.
The increase in the number of organizations doing this work, particularly in the last few years,
right,
requires that there are levels of support that can allow for the very diverse range of organizations, from very small operations with just a handful of volunteers to some very sizable charities with 60+ staff.
Right.
How do we come together to support the great work of food banks? And it's a big part of what Food Banks BC does. Right.
And who established Food Bank BC?
I don't have the details of the specifics of that. Sorry, no. I mean, it predates my time by over 20 years. But we've been a registered charity since the early 2000s, and have long established our role as a provincial member organization to support the great work of hunger relief charities.
Okay. So we're going to move on to the topic that I really want to discuss, which is Guru Nanak Food Bank.
Yeah.
Guru Nanak Food Bank has been operating since July 2020. They work 7 days a week, and they currently serve from 2 locations. We've got the Surrey location and the Delta location. Do you know about this organization and the locations that they have?
Yes, and I've been in contact with the Guru Nanak Food Bank since last year.
Yeah, what are your thoughts about them? What do you think of Guru Nanak Food Bank?
They're doing an excellent job.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's tragic that we have seen yet another hunger relief organization coming into the scene, but like I said, this is the trend across the province.
The tragedy is the need for it.
There is a need for it.
But the beautiful thing is that there is an organization.
That people have come together. You know, I'm not an expert on this, but I know within the Sikh community, it's part of the commitment of people to support those in need. And
that's right. It's seva, giving back to the community.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I hold that a great deal of admiration for the wonderful charitable work that we see from the community.
Yeah. And actually, Dan, just to point out to our viewers even watching, Guru Nanak Food Bank, just because it is a Sikh valued system, like they subscribe to doing seva and that kind of work, doesn't mean that they only cater to Sikh community. They cater to everyone, because it's all God is one, according to our faith. So Guru Nanak Food Bank, are they a member of Food Banks of British Columbia?
They're not a member.
They're not a member. Okay. So why are they not a member? And what is the criteria for becoming a member? Let's sort that out.
Yeah. So we under our current membership model, we have 107 members across the province.
Okay.
And we have a requirement of our members to be operating hunger relief services, food bank, a charitable food bank operation to provide food to people in need.
Right.
And they will operate services within different communities in BC.
Okay.
Now, in some communities, we'll have one food bank for that municipality or for that community.
Right. In
other areas, we might have one food bank that operates across multiple jurisdictions.
Okay.
And that has been the case for many years. And in Surrey, we have the Surrey Food Bank as our member for Surrey, but they also operate services in North Delta and in Cloverdale.
So are you saying that in the Surrey area, you've got which food banks are serving the Surrey area?
Well, our member is the Surrey Food Bank.
Okay, so Surrey Food Bank from you is serving the Surrey area.
Surrey,
but that's not the only one, or is that the only one under you?
They're the only official member. We work with a number of hunger relief organizations, the Muslim Food Bank, the Kingdom Acts Foundation, City Reach, quite a few Surrey-based hunger relief charities, but we only have one official member. Only one member.
Okay, so the criteria, what you're saying, Guru Nanak Food Bank, you've given me some information of how to be a member. Now, I've done some research, and I've found in my research that you had offered $30,000 to Guru Nanak Food Bank, but not membership. Why not the membership, and why only the money?
Under our current model, we only have one food bank per jurisdiction. And because Surrey is meeting our requirements of providing services, accessible services within the North Delta community, that satisfies our requirements for membership to be the North Delta representative from our membership. That's under our current model that we are currently reviewing.
Okay.
And we have been working with a lot of organizations like Guru Nanak, who are non-members, and providing non-member funding as a means to support the great work that they're doing. And that's something that we are still in conversation with Guru Nanak about.
Yeah, because if we look at Surrey, Dan, I mean, just even me saying the word Surrey, I feel overwhelmed by the growth of how fast this community is growing and the need. And we've got people that are hungry. Surrey Food Bank, how many days a week is Surrey Food Bank open?
In the Surrey community, or in, I don't have that specific information.
Is it 2 days a week? Is it roughly 2 days a week, would you say?
In Surrey?
Yeah.
I can't say. We have 107 members. I don't know all of their opening hours. But
that's
certainly...
that's something as, Food Banks of BC that you might want to find out, because if you're providing funding to the members, which is, one of your members, you should know kind of what their operating hours are, because you're giving them funding. So just saying, Guru Nanak Food Bank, they're open 7 days a week. So what do you think of the contrast between someone that's a member that is not open 7 days a week? I know that they're not open 7 days a week. We can agree to that.
Yeah.
So if Guru Nanak Food Bank is open 7 days a week and they're fulfilling all of the membership requirements, then why aren't they a member, Dan?
The number of the opening hours and the accessibility of service, I acknowledge that Guru Nanak is exemplary in that sense.
They really are.
We don't really have any agencies that I'm aware of in our membership that are open 7 days a week.
Right.
We have agencies that are doing an exceptional job in meeting the need of their clients, and they're also working a lot within their communities and supporting agencies like Guru Nanak or the equivalents in other communities.
Right.
So that's something that we always hope to see from our members, as much accessibility to ensure that whoever's needing services, and juggling their whatever there's going on in their lives, is able to get to the food bank if that's what's needed.
Right.
But as I've shared, the Surrey Food Bank is providing services in North Delta. We work with our members whenever there's an applicant organisation to make a determination if they are providing adequate levels of service that meet our member standards.
Okay.
And the Surrey Food Bank have satisfied that.
Okay.
We are reviewing this.
Right.
As you mentioned, Surrey is growing.
Yep.
It's one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing city in British Columbia.
Yeah.
We are seeing greater need in Surrey than I think in any community.
Absolutely.
And as a result of this, over a long period of time now, we have been reviewing our membership model.
Right.
Because we want to create a model that's more reflective of the times that we're living in,
right.
More inclusive, and allowing us to create more connections with organizations so we can strengthen the network that's doing this.
When you say you've been in talks about membership with Guru Nanak Food Bank, how long has the span been being in talks?
The first connection was early in the summer of 2023. We then began the consultation process with the Surrey Food Bank. We have, and in that same period of time, we started to review the membership model as well. So it's been roughly 9 or 10 months, and that dialogue continues. We'll be meeting with the Guru Nanak Food Bank leadership from North Delta next week.
Okay, that's very good to hear. So is BC Food Banks of BC, is it government regulated, or is it actually a private organization?
Yeah, we're a separate entity from government.
So it's not government? No. Okay. So I have a question for you then. So according to my research, in 2023, Food Bank BC received a whopping $15 million from the Social Welfare Ministry. That is wonderful. That makes me happy because that money, that $15 million, is going toward helping the community. So that $15 million was given to you to give to your members, correct?
A portion of the $15 million.
Okay.
We have, it's allocated across 4 different programs or supports. We have funding for our members and non-members. We have funding for school meals pilots, some work that we're doing in northern BC to increase access to food in rural and remote communities, and also emergency food access. We've been providing food into communities that have been impacted by fires and floods since 2021, and some of that funding is to support that. So only a portion of the 15 million was to be used to support the work of agencies, and that was spread over 3 years. So we're in the second year.
What portion was
6 million of that was
so
for...
6 million, only 6 million of that?
6 of the 15.
Was for the food banks, so the members. So how much did each food bank receive then out of that $6 million?
107 food banks. It's not a consistent amount.
Did each one get the same amount? Or
no, it was calculated proportionate to the number of clients that they're supporting.
Okay, so $6 million among all of the food banks, and you based it on geographically their needs and that kind of thing.
The number of individuals that they're serving, and we factored in some of the other constraints that they work under, like if they are a rural or remote community, for instance, and they struggle with access to more affordable or more available food. So we would supplement for that reason. Yeah.
So we've heard that Food Bank BC charges a membership fee.
Yes.
So what is that fee? How much is that?
It's a sliding scale, and it's up to $500 for a year, depending on the size of the food bank. But the starting membership rate is less than $100 for
So when you
for
say
1 year.
sliding, sorry, Dan, so when you say sliding scale,
It's based on the number of clients, the size of the operation.
Okay.
So the larger the food bank, the higher the
higher the
membership fee.
Okay. Well, then I think that it'd be very expensive for Guru Nanak Food Bank to join you because they have so many people that use their food bank.
I think, relatively speaking, it's a quite a small sum. When I think about an organization that might be paying the minimum, you know, we're talking, like I said, less than $100, but in supports they might receive from us over the course of the year, it's tens of thousands of dollars. And there's also the other additional benefits of access to, you know, member benefits.
What are the benefits? Yeah, what are the benefits? I know that Guru Nanak Food Bank really wanted a membership. They didn't want the $30,000, according to what I've been told, but they couldn't get the membership. Why do they want the membership? What is the benefit of membership with you?
Well, I mean, beyond, I mean, the funding that we're describing, this $30,000,
Yeah.
this is the same pot of funding, which is a finite pot of funding that's going to our members as well. So this isn't there isn't ongoing funding support that goes to members and then one-off funding to non-members.
Right, well, but what are the benefits to members?
But beyond the funding then.
Okay.
Well, we have access to, we distribute food. When we receive donations from provincial partners or from the national body, Food Banks Canada, we distribute food out to our members. We have training and other learning resources to support food banks.
Okay.
And there are third-party campaigns where funding is also provided.
Right.
Those are not controlled by us.
Right.
Examples would be the CBC Food Bank Day or BC Liquor campaigns within the stores.
Right.
And those are funds that go out to the membership as well. But those are controlled by the third-party donor.
Right, but it'd still be a benefit to the members.
It's a benefit to the members, yeah.
Okay. When was the first time that Guru Nanak Food Bank sent in a request for membership to food banks? BC?
I think the initial inquiry would have been, like I said, early summer of 2023.
So according to your website, new membership requests should be emailed to info@foodbankbc.com. Is that correct?
Yes, but we also have people will reach out to us and maybe call the office, but we haven't actually had an application from Guru Nanak. We advise them that to go through that very onerous process before we've had the opportunity to speak with the Surrey Food Bank.
Right.
We wouldn't want them to have to undertake that if it meant that it would be redundant for them to do so.
So is there an online application then for people that want to become members?
No.
There's no online application?
No, we discuss the process with any interested applicants.
Okay.
And provide them with all of the documentation once we've gone through that process.
So say I have a food bank and I want to come to you and I say I need funding. So say I'm coming to you and I'm trying to apply for membership with you. The only way that I can apply for membership is no application. I have to send an email to info@foodbanksbc.com. That's the first step.
You express an interest through the email, yes.
That's how you start. So in order to become a member, that's the first step, is getting to that email and sending you a request via email saying, I would like to be a member.
That would be the typical way it would happen.
That's correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Guru Nanak Food Bank did send you that email?
Yes, I'm going back, almost a year now, but yes, I think I recorded receiving an email from a leadership representative of the Guru Nanak.
They absolutely did. Yeah, I've seen the actual application, like the start of the application, because you don't have an online application, but the email inquiry is the first step in getting that application.
Right. Yes.
So they did actually apply. They just haven't had a chance to get an answer from you yet, but you're working on it.
Yeah, we've spoken about the process with them. Yes.
So then, Dan, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, but in a recent interview with CBC, you denied that Guru Nanak Food Bank had requested membership with Food Bank BC. Why would you say that they hadn't when you just told me that they had?
That's, I don't know if that was misquoted from CBC,
okay,
but I've never denied that they've requested membership.
Okay.
No application has been submitted because of the process that I just explained. We didn't want them to have to go through that process if it meant that we were just going to have to turn around and say, sorry, Food Bank is going to remain the member.
So that is kind of semantics, respectfully.
Okay.
That is semantics when we say, well, they haven't given us an application, but I don't actually have an application for them. Do you know what I mean?
No, they've expressed interest in becoming a member.
Absolutely.
I'm not denying that.
But if you say to CBC, they haven't put in an application, but they've actually sent you an email to say we want to be a member, and that's the process. So they're following the process, yet you haven't provided them an actual application. And then you say, well, they haven't applied. Well, how can they apply if you don't have an application?
And I never denied that with the CBC, but they'll report whatever portion that they want to report, regardless of me telling the CBC that they had expressed interest in applying. Okay,
so let's clear it up then. Sure. CBC, maybe they misquoted you. I don't know. Respectfully, CBC members are, they're media alike, so no judgments on our part.
Yeah.
But if CBC is saying this, let's clear it up. We don't want to have any misunderstandings out there. So Guru Nanak Food Bank has applied to you via email as a request to become a member of Food Banks BC.
They've emailed their interest in becoming a member, yes.
Yes.
Not denying that.
And now they just need an application from you. You have to supply an application for them to fill out so that you can get the ball rolling.
That would be the step that we could take.
Right.
Had we not determined in working with the Surrey Food Bank that to go through that process would be redundant. We would not want them to have to do that.
Right.
If it was not going to result in in the outcome that they were hoping to see.
Right. I mean, everything in life is redundant. Everyone's, reinventing the wheel. Every time you look at any industry, everybody's doing the same thing. Now, if there's one food bank in Surrey, but the need is so great, having an application that might be redundant might actually be a benefit just in case it does get approved. Would you not agree?
Well, that's what we're doing right now through the review process.
Okay.
We're comprehensively, diligently looking at our model.
Right.
To see how we can have more organizations connected to this work. At the moment, our bylaws, and I'm sure you understand the constraints that you operate under with bylaws, we don't have the ability just to say, Guru Nanak, you can be part of our membership.
Right. But you could though. But you could. So you could.
No, you
don't.
We actually don't.
I agree. I haven't finished my sentence. I agree with you. You don't have the jurisdiction over bylaws or whatever you're saying. But you do have the ability to say, okay, let's take this application and put it forward. You do have that ability.
I do. And then the application would be ultimately blocked by the member in question that we have in that community. That's the situation that we have.
There's always going to be controversy. There's always going to be somebody that says, I don't like this, they're not going to agree. But you putting it forward would be a benefit to the community. Would you not agree?
I don't know how it would benefit the community. Like I said, if that doesn't get past us, the process of a member applying or an applicant trying to gain membership, if we can't take it beyond that, then all we've done is had that organization complete some forms.
But completing forms, Dan, that's 20 minutes of my life, which is going to be valuable to the community. You're saying it won't help the community, but I would respectfully disagree. When you've got Guru Nanak Food Bank that is open 7 days a week, catering to all of the needs of Surrey and Delta, how could that not be a benefit to the community to have them be a member and get the support, the wonderful support that you provide?
We're talking about two different things here, though. You're saying then becoming a member will be a benefit to the community.
Yes.
I'm not arguing that that's not the case.
Okay.
I don't know, but that's not what I want. But completing the application does not automatically make you become a member.
No, but it's the first step.
It is the first step.
So let's get them an application. Like, what's the hiccup? Like, it's taking so long. Why is it taking so long? Because there are hungry people that Guru Nanak Food Bank is feeding, and you're feeding as well.
Yep.
But if other food banks are open lesser hours, and Guru Nanak Food Bank is serving 7 days a week, and they want to help the community, and they are helping, and they could use the support of being a member, why are they not a member, Dan?
I have explained. Our membership model only allows for one organization to operate within one community or within a selection of communities. Our bylaws state that if an applicant was to express interest in operating in a community, our existing member can say, we are operating here, we want to remain the member. And that is the situation we have here. We don't have the ability to turn around and say, no, you can't say that.
That kind of sounds like a monopoly, though. So the one person in Surrey that says, well, no, I don't want this, why would you give them so much control? And why would they want that control? Wouldn't they want to have what's in the best interest of all of the hungry people of Surrey?
I can't speak for that person.
But-
I can't
but-
speak, but
but
what I can say is
speaking
that
on-
they satisfy the requirements we have of providing accessible services in the North Delta community. There's also another requirement of our members,
Okay.
and that's that they are working with agencies within the communities that they serve.
Okay.
They have access to a lot of resources by being part of Food Banks BC,
Right.
and we expect that those resources are appropriately shared within the communities that they're serving. And that's a requirement of all members. Now, with regards to the opening hours and the level of accessibility,
Right.
I think that Guru and NANAK are doing an amazing job.
Yes, I would agree. When the Social Welfare Ministry approached you regarding the status of Guru Nanak Food Bank's membership, what was your response?
They were interested in learning about what process had been followed, and
Yeah.
we shared the same information that I've shared with you today.
So your response to the Social Welfare Ministry was?
That the Guru Nanak Food Bank has expressed interest.
Yeah.
And under our current model, the Surrey Food Bank is remaining the North Delta representative. And we are taking a look at that model to see if it's actually adequately meeting the needs of
It might be a bit archaic. We might need to have to restructure it, I guess, right, with the growing population. So the only thing that Guru Nanak Food Bank hasn't done, they've met all your requirements. It's just that there's another person in that spot, is what you're saying.
Yes, and of course, if you may meet all requirements, it doesn't necessarily mean you're automatically a member as well. We have to do due diligence, but certainly with the basic criteria of what the Guru Nanak is doing,
Yeah.
Satisfies our basic requirements for membership.
Right.
But
That's wonderful.
when we have an existing food bank in that same geographic area,
Right.
that's where we have to consult our bylaws
Right.
and go through the process of determining if that member is meeting the need, and our member will tell us if this is a community that they wish to stay in.
Okay, so last year in BC, Food Bank of BC, what were the administration and campaign costs?
I think approximately 700,000, 700+ for our administration. I don't have the campaign costs, but those would probably be incorporated into our overhead, our administration, our staffing, and all of those costs.
$700,000 is a lot.
Is it? For a provincial organization?
Well, how many employees do you have?
We have 8 staff, 4 of whom I think are part-time. So the majority of those funds that expenses is on staffing.
Wow, so 4 full-time and
full-time.
4 part-time
And 4 part-time.
and about $700,000.
Yes. But that's
Would
not
you-
all on staffing, of course.
Yeah, would you say that 15% is about the number of the costs of the donations that you've received? About 15% would be allocated to the 4 full-time and 4 part-time staff?
Sorry, can you...
Would it be about 15% of the donations?
Of our donations?
Yeah.
Go to...
To that administrative and campaign cost?
No, I don't believe so.
You don't think it's that high?
I mean, so donations to Food Banks BC?
Yeah.
I mean, donations that come directly to Food Banks BC are discretionary to support the work that we're doing.
Right.
There are some donations that would be specified to go to members or used for certain programs or processes, but the vast majority of the funds that come to Food Banks BC are to support can be used at our discretion for our admin and overhead. We handle a large amount of money that comes through government grants and the third-party donations, millions and millions of dollars that we distribute out through our grants, our direct disbursement, and through the donations.
Right. That $700,000 is just kind of a shocker to me. It's like, oh gosh, for 4 people full-time and then some part-timers, that seems like a lot. But we'll just let you sit with that. We won't go on and on about it. I'm going to read you a comment, and then I'm going to ask for your input on it. Okay. Food Bank BC is a waste of taxpayer money. This organization exists solely to distribute and donate funds. Food banks should receive funding directly so that the funds go to those in need and not to a misappropriation of funds. Would you like to offer a rebuttal?
I think it's a very limited take on what Food Banks BC does. We are a significant support to many agencies. We advocate on behalf of our members and non-member organizations.
Okay.
The funds didn't just land in our lap.
Okay.
We worked with the provincial government to look at where the needs were and secure funds that would provide some assistance
Right.
to the organizations out there who are doing this work.
Okay.
Without that advocacy,
Yeah.
those funds, we don't know where those funds would have been allocated to.
Right.
If you have 107 food bank agencies plus hundreds of other organizations attempting to access funding from the government versus the centralized approach that we have, where we are working with trusted organizations, charities in good standing,
Right.
who we know are going to be in a position to maximize the impact of those funds.
Right.
We are prudently stewarding the funding that's coming through from the government and from the very many donors and third-party corporate supporters of food banks.
Right. But I think the other side would argue, I mean, other food banks that aren't in membership might argue that if there was no middleman, then that money would go directly to the food banks to then service the community. Just then those administrative costs and campaign costs would be zero.
And I would like to add as well that that's not $700,000 that we're taking from the funding that's coming through.
Right.
We take a very minimal administrative fee from those funds to ensure that the funding is maximized and getting out to the agencies and these other important programs that we're doing.
So that $700,000, I didn't really want to go on and on about it, but you're clarifying it with saying that you don't actually get that amount. You're saying it's less
We're not getting
than that, there's a
700.
portion.
No, yeah, I think you misunderstand.
Okay.
$700,000 is not the funding that we receive from the government. No.
But it's going toward paying administrative.
$700,000 is the approximate is our overhead and administrative cost. Yes, and you can see all this on our statements online. We have all this available through our audited statements.
It just seems excessive. $700,000 in administrative costs seems really high.
How? So if you want to break it down by
could you break it down for us?
Well, we have staffing costs, of course. We have rent. We have costs associated with maintaining our website and our other costs just to run a charity. You've got to keep the lights on, right? We have auditing fees for to ensure that we have our statements, like we said, are available online. So there are many costs associated with running a charity. I'm not sure if you've had a personal experience.
No, not personal. This is just, I'm impartial, actually. I'm just trying to figure out where we're lacking as far as accepting members into, food banks of BC and how we can kind of bridge that gap and maybe make that archaic process something more current with the growing population of Surrey. I'm trying to be an advocate for the people, the people that are hungry, that are waiting for supports, that could have more supports if there was more inclusive environment for members.
It's appreciated, and it echoes the work that we're currently doing to look at our membership model.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to figure out where the hiccup is, why Guru Nanak Food Bank is not a member, but they've been offered the $30,000. So I wanted to kind of figure out how we can get past that to make them a member and kind of expedite the process, if you will. So Dan, thank you so much for talking to me. I know I've asked you a lot of tough questions and we got some clarification over the whole misunderstanding with CBC, as you said. If you wanted to give a message to our viewers or to Guru Nanak Food Bank or to anybody that's watching, maybe there's a hungry child out there that you want to talk to, anybody that you want to talk to, you can look right in that camera right over there. Okay, well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to express my gratitude to having the opportunity to expose the need that's out there. The need for food banks, services, and hunger relief organizations has never been greater than it is today. So I'm grateful to all of the organizations out there who are doing this work. We exist to support that work and to hopefully move us to a better place where this type of service is no longer needed. So just know that this is a priority for Food Banks BC, and I'm grateful in the meantime for those folks out there who are meeting the immediate need. Thank you, Dan Huang-Taylor, Executive Director, Food Banks BC. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. I shall leave my viewers with something to think about. Who suffers when semantics are at play? If the funding that is generated by taxpayer money isn't going to where it's intended, shouldn't we reevaluate and reconsider the allocation of those funds? And specifically, perhaps there is no need for a middleman. Thank you for watching. I'm your host, Sonia West. We'll see you again next time.